Welcome everybody back into NerdSesh. As always, I'm Carson Bradburn, and alongside me is Logan Camden, and these NBA Finals just continue to deliver. Logan, Game 5 was another incredibly fun one, and it is a massive Oklahoma City Thunder victory. That is probably an understatement. It is the biggest victory since the team moved to Oklahoma City in their history. And driving this, giving them a 3-2 lead, now one win away from their first NBA title since moving to Oklahoma City, since 1979, if we're going to use the Sonics franchise history as well, was an incredible performance from Jalen Williams and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. What did you see from those guys and from the Thunder that allowed them to get this most pivotal win, Logan?
I mean, this felt like the perfect game in a lot of ways for Oklahoma City. And there are a few other things that could have gone right. I mean, Chet Holmgren could have played better, but I mean, that's really nitpicking. And that's just offensively. He was excellent defensively.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City's defense was dominant in this game. Rim protection, wreaking havoc, playing passing lanes, ball pressure, poking balls loose. I mean, in the fourth quarter, they have 4 straight possessions where they force an Indiana turnover. And I thought they did an excellent job tonight, not only of dominating defensively, but turning that defense into offense on the other end. And that has always been the foundation of this team. I thought Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was excellent in this game and really struck the balance quite perfectly between scoring and playmaking, and surrounding guys around him all made shots, and they sprayed from behind the arc. Shout out Aaron Wiggins, shout out Case and Wallace. They both step in and have huge games from behind the arc. But the real star of the show is Jalen Williams. And I mean, I'm so happy, man. Like, I'm not a Thunder fan, but I've been waiting on a game like this from J-Dub. We have been longtime J-Dub advocates, and this is his playoff career high. It's not just his finals career high in this series. It is his playoff career high. I mean, he couldn't have done it in a bigger moment. And you see so many things on display from this young man, getting out in transition and being one of the best scorers in that area in basketball, dominated there. So many instances of him cutting to the basket and finding open space, creating easy opportunities. And then when you get that, which J-Dub does normally so consistently, both of those two things, when you can combine that with elite pull-up shooting, amazing downhill aggression and physicality, getting to the line a bunch, and perimeter shooting, that's it. J-Dub's just a superstar. Like, he is the total package, and that's the guy we got to start with, man. A 40-piece from J-Dub here in the biggest game of his life, the biggest game of the season, and like you said, since the Thunder moved to Oklahoma City, you couldn't have asked for it on a bigger stage, man. J-Dub delivered, and he's the first guy I think you got to give a shout-out to.
This is an incredible game from the Thunder. This is an all-around gem from them, and it's honestly impressive that the Pacers kept this game as close as they did, that this only ends up being an 11-point final margin, because almost every box that I was looking for OKC to check off in this series, they checked off in this game and just reached a sensationally high level that nobody else in the NBA this year has been able to touch. It does start with J-Dub, but this is an incredible game from OKC's star guard duo. It is a historic game. It is a legacy game. It is a career-defining game on the biggest stage, in the biggest game of both of their respective careers up to this point. J-Dub literally played the best game of his life tonight, 46-4 on 66% true shooting with 1 turnover. Absolutely ridiculous, basically a flawless basketball game. But Shai also had a historic performance. He became the first player ever to have 30 points, 10 assists, and 4 blocks in an NBA Finals game. He had another 2 huge steals. He was decently efficient, 57% true shooting. They became the second duo in NBA Finals history since 1962, I think, to have a 40-piece and a 30-piece in the same game. Just incredible. I mean, they reached this peak level, and it was exactly what they needed. And it's the kind of game that you'll never forget. You laid out a lot of what J-Dub did at such a high level in this one. So much of it was his ability to find easy offense using his athletic advantages in a series where it's been otherwise difficult for the Thunder to find easy offense. That means he is attacking in transition off of steals where he is so excellent. That means he is cutting. Those two play types were how J-Dub got his first 11 points in this game. It's just, I'm a little bit quicker than you. I'm going to take advantage of these opportunities to score without having to create for myself. But then also the self-creation was all there, as you mentioned. He's driving effectively. I mean, some beautiful finishes in the lane in this one. He's protecting the ball extremely well. That was such a big thing. J-Dub had 8 turnovers over the previous 2 games. He had struggled some with the Indiana ball pressure. Not at all in this one, just completely under control, finding teammates some, attacking closeouts, like playing off the catch, and shooting the 3 so well off the catch, which is huge because J-Dub is an incredibly complete all-around basketball player when you consider his insane defensive versatility, his scoring versatility, being a true 3-level guy, his on and off ball value, his playmaking, half-court transition. Like, this guy does everything for you on the court. But the 3 ball has just been a little shaky for him throughout this postseason. He came into this game under 31% overall, and he hits 3 massive triples. I think all of them playing off of Shai, creating an advantage, including maybe the biggest bucket of the night when the Pacers get the lead down to 2 for OKC. They trim it to 95-93 in that fourth quarter. And who is it who steps up and knocks down a huge 3 off the catch? It's Jalen Williams. Like, whenever they needed a bucket, he delivered. This is the best game of his career, flat out. And then Shai just played such a beautiful game. And he did it without like his A-plus shot making. This wasn't the most efficient game from the field, and yet I have no notes on this Shai performance because he approached it exactly as I wanted him to. I was probably more critical of him than most after game 4 because, yes, he had the clutch heroics, but I thought that his approach throughout the game for 4 quarters was bad. I thought he was selfish. I thought he missed opportunities to create for teammates, struggled with double teams, which is frustrating because I know he is capable of leveraging his all-time scoring threat into really high-level playmaking, where he becomes this complete offensive engine who is making the entire team's life so easy offensively. That's exactly what he did in this one. He's getting downhill over and over again. That's where he draws a ton of fouls. He is just punishing Miles Turner for playing up at the level. Both him and J-Dub did a really nice job of exploiting Indiana's pick and roll coverages. And one adjustment that I really have liked from OKC is they're setting a ton of these screens in the backcourt, in half court, like as a counter to Indiana's ball pressure.
Then you're dragging that big man into, he's got to guard so much more space.
Exactly. And they're playing them like actual pick and roll coverages. It doesn't matter if the screen is set 50, 70 feet from the basket. Like, they aren't just straight up retreating the big. They're playing like damn near at the level. And so that's just way too much runway for a J-Dub or a Shai. And I think that they've been able to exploit that really effectively. But this is one of the best playmaking games from Shai that we've seen in his career, I would say. I mean, making all the kick out passes, accurate as a passer, consistently with the live dribble, getting the ball with anticipation to the right spots. And he was so selfless to go from 0 assists and just very few passes last game to 10 assists in this one. It's such a big difference. He is so pivotal to OKC having a completely different volume of 3-point shooting in this game. He doesn't make a 3, but he was a big part of the reason that they had so few 3-point attempts and so few 3-point makes last game, because he wasn't creating those opportunities for his teammates. In this one, he was creating an abundance. So they go from 3 3-pointers made in game 4 to 14 threes made in this one. When they're creating that shot quality from deep and they're making their shots from deep like that, really nobody is going to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. And Shai was so great in transition. I talk about how J-Dub was able to find his easy offense early in this game. For Shai, it was attacking in transition. That's where he gets his first 6 points, a couple transition buckets, and then one semi-transition possession where they set a screen for him, as we're talking about, at half court, and then he's got a great runway to get downhill. Offensively, I do think that he was the engine in this one. J-Dub ends up with more points. He's more efficient. But in the half court, in terms of manufacturing offense, I did think that Shai was the most valuable guy with his playmaking. But J-Dub did so much great stuff as a play finisher in transition. He is the hero of the day overall. But they were both amazing. The other area where Shai has to get so much credit is his defensive performance in this one. 2 huge steals in the fourth quarter on back-to-back possessions and 4 blocks, man. This has been a huge swing factor for Shai. We've seen these stretches where he's been elite defensively, making plays at the rim, making himself impossible to post up and making himself somebody who you can't attack as a mismatch out of the post. And then we've seen stretches where he's a little bit asleep defensively. He's not giving full effort. He's not making those catches difficult, and you can kind of go at him. This is a game in which he just made it so difficult to target him at all defensively, and he's giving you a bunch of high effort, great defensive plays using his length. Just incredible. Like I said, it's one of those games I will never forget from these two, and it's one of the great NBA Finals duo performances in recent memory. Like, I think about Game 1 in 2023 when Jamal Murray has the 34-point triple-double and Jokic goes 30-20-10. There's Game 2, I think, in the 2020 finals where LeBron and AD combined for 65, 20-something, and 10 assists. Game 5, 2017, KD and Steph went absolutely insane. Both had like super efficient scoring performances in the mid-30s. And then obviously probably the best one maybe ever in terms of a finals duo performances, LeBron and Kyrie 2016 Game 5, where they both go for 41. But if you're looking at the last decade, I'd probably have all those performances above this one. But it's not crazy to say this is in top 5 duo performances conversation. Like, it was that great at the most important moment, and it's the defining moment of the career of both of these guys up to this point.
For sure. It's the most important game in the series, and I want to give additional praise to this Oklahoma City defense, too, because that's also what powered this dub, man. 22 turnovers they force on Indiana, and they score over 30 points off of those turnovers. I believe they end up more than tripling Indiana in that department, and so that is where I do want to give Indiana some props for just being resilient, because when Oklahoma City wins so many of these categories so convincingly, dominated the star portion of this game. You know, J-Dub and SGA soundly outperform Siakam and Haliburton. The Pacers get outshot massively in this one, or at least it felt like it. I think it ends up being like 12 points or something like that from deep, but it felt bigger than that. They get crushed in turnovers and transition and points off turnovers as well. I mean, and Haliburton ends this game, I still believe. I don't think he made one from the field. Like,
nope.
It's amazing to me that they stayed so close, but Oklahoma City dominated all those categories, but they couldn't get into a rhythm, man, and they couldn't get set up. And when you're going to gift Oklahoma City all these extra opportunities, you're just digging yourself a hole that you can't come out of. So I want to give Indiana a ton of credit for just staying in this game and for the heroic effort from Pascal Siakam to keep them close in this one. But and TJ McConnell on top, and we'll give some more credit to those guys. But I also thought this defensive performance was one of the better ones we've seen out of Oklahoma City in these playoffs. I mean, it was a dominant defensive performance from them. The rim protection, the ball pressure, the defensive playmaking, like every single bit of it. Nothing came easy for Indiana in this game.
Here's a stat for you, Logan, to cement just how dominant it was. It was historic. First game in NBA Finals history in which a team had 15 or more steals and 12 or more blocks. That's what this OKC defense does. They're one of the greatest defenses we've ever seen. And
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Well, just do you think this game kind of felt like it was looming a little bit, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen the stretches, the first half of Game 1, the first half of Game 2, the fourth quarter of Game 4, where they have just fully locked in and reached their defensive peak, and that is one of the greatest defenses we've ever seen. Overall, through 4 games, though, if you were going to ask me, like, has OKC defended up to the level I would have expected? I would have probably said they've been just a tick below it, just because my expectation is one of the greatest defenses of all time, the best defense that we've seen in at least 2 decades. And Indiana was able to produce offensively at a level a bit above what I would have expected. But there were always the stretches where OKC just did their all-time great thing. And this game, yeah, it's insane. And I agree, it did feel like it was looming. When you watch the fourth quarter of Game 4 and you see them reach that lockdown mode where they're so active, every rotation, their speed is so overwhelming, they're switching everything and just shutting down the Indiana offense, you know that they're capable of putting together full games like that. And this is incredible, dude. Like I mentioned the team numbers, you go up and down the roster. 4 steals and a block for Caruso, 4 steals and a block for Cason Wallace, 2 steals and 4 blocks for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 2 steals and a block for Lou Dort, 1 steal and 3 blocks for Chet Holmgren, all of which came in the first half, which I thought was the best single half of rim protection we have seen in this entire postseason. It is completely absurd. Their ability to leverage their all-time great speed to wreak havoc on the perimeter, to swarm, to force turnovers at an unparalleled rate, and then to also have this overwhelming rim protection from one guy like Chet, who I do think is the best pure technical rim protector in basketball today, but also the length of all of these guys, of a J-Dub, of a Caruso, of a Shai. It's just completely overwhelming. We've never seen a defense that checks those boxes at a level this high. Their raw speed is one of one. Their turnover forcing ability is one of one. Their ability to turn that into offense is one of one, which, as you mentioned, they have 32 points off turnovers to Indiana's 9 in this game, dominated the turnover margin and dominated the points off turnover margin. And then to also have this best in the league backline defense, it's just unfair. And they are one of the hardest defenses to score on ever. Indiana got a full serving of that experience in this game. They still put up 109 points, but it was an incredible defensive performance from OKC. I do think you have to give a ton of credit to Chet for that, because this was an ugly offensive game from him. And if you look at the box score, you'll get totally the wrong impression. I thought he was still a very positive impact guy in this game, even going 4 of 15 from the field, missed a couple times around the rim. He was really impactful on the glass again, 5 offensive boards, 11 rebounds in total. That was big, but his 3 blocks in the first half, first of all, it felt like it was more than 3. It felt like it was 4 or 5, but they are like elite point-saving plays. These are like only Chet and a couple other dudes can make these sort of plays at the rim. And then he's also switching at such a high level. Down the stretch of game 4, he was the key period point blank to their defense because they kept trying to go at him off switches and they couldn't score against Chet. We got a lot more of that in the first half where Hallie just could not get any separation against him. He forces a turnover, clamping him, clamps Siakam on a possession off a switch. Like, the scoring was not good, but everything else was pretty fantastic from Chet, and the team defense was just ridiculous. I think there's more praise to go around. How about some of the role player performances for OKC in this one?
No doubt. Only thing I was going to say on the defense too, man, you know, they always say you're only as strong as your weakest link. Oklahoma City said, what if I just didn't have a weak link at all? You couldn't attack anybody. Amen. Caruso, I thought, was phenomenal in this one. Again, man, wreaking havoc on defense, getting out in transition and doing his thing, doing some connective stuff. We've already mentioned these guys, but I thought Cason Wallace and Aaron Wiggins were both fantastic. And defensively and from behind the arc, hit some big-time threes for them. And the other guy I was really surprised with was Isaiah Hartenstein. I thought he had an excellent first quarter in this one. I was really nervous when Dagnall trotted him out there to start again. I really thought he was going to make the adjustment to go back to Cason or to start Caruso in this one. And I was nervous, Carson, but Hartenstein played great. He had, I think, one bad play in the first quarter that I can remember, but for the most part, has some beautiful playmaking moments in that one. Hits J-Dub on a cut. You were talking about the Thunder going to those really high screens early in this game, giving J-Dub and SGA that long runway. The guy that was setting some of those bone-crushing screens was Hartenstein. And you can't sing his praises enough about what he did on the offensive glass, man. I thought he was excellent there in this one, creating extra opportunities for them. So this was just a complete team victory for OKC, man. And like J-Dub and SGA were remarkable. I mean, truly, truly special in this one too. But this Thunder team is great. And I thought all those guys had huge, huge contributions in this one. But Hartenstein was the one that surprised me the most just because of how skeptical I was about them running that back out there. And I thought he was really great in the first half.
Yeah, I think that I've made my feelings on the double big look clear. Not a fan of it in this series as their starting lineup, but I love Isaiah Hartenstein. I've always loved Isaiah Hartenstein, and absolutely, I thought he gave really good minutes in this one. I mean, all the things that you want from him that he does do at such a high level, he was doing at a really high level in this game. Dominant offensively, 6 offensive boards in 21 minutes, just dictating the offensive glass. Being a great playmaking hub, he has 4 assists. I think all 3 of J-Dub's cuts for dunks in the first half, if I'm not mistaken, were assisted by Isaiah Hartenstein. He's just got such incredible feel and placement as a passer, operating from the top of the key. Just a really gifted facilitator. And then he's setting great screens, like you said. So I thought that they got the most out of his minutes. Lou Dort also, I mean, did a really good job on Hallie, who we're going to talk about, obviously, is dealing with this calf thing and didn't make a field goal in this game. So that is insane. He really, really struggled. But Lou Dort also has 5 offensive rebounds. He makes 3 threes, including a big one in the fourth quarter. And Wiggins and Wallace, just like you said, man, I mean, especially Kaysen, because obviously he's an elite defensive player, but his ability specifically to prevent Indiana from being able to attack him as a potential mismatch out of the post. Miles Turner gets a switch with Kaysen, and Kaysen just jumps the pass and forces a steal. Siakam tries to go at him one time, and he just strips him. Again, 4 steals and a block for him. And then when he's also knocking down 3 of 4 attempts from deep, then you're just getting one of the best role players on the planet. Wiggins, his offensive infusion was so huge. We saw this in game 2 of this series. He is a guy who has a combination of perimeter shooting and the ability to create for himself off the bounce that is really rare to get from a bench player. And then Caruso, this goes down as his worst game of the series just because he struggled offensively and he still has 4 steals and a block. I mean, the impact that you are getting from him off the bench night after night is ridiculous. So you look at everybody in the rotation and they did something awesome for you tonight. 3 bench players all have massive pronounced impacts in one way or another. Your 2 star guards have this historic offensive performance as a duo, and then you're getting elite defense from Chet. You're getting elite defense from Dort and some timely shot making. You're getting the rebounding and playmaking from Hartenstein. Just what an all-around masterpiece from this team. They summoned their best when they needed it most. J-Dub specifically, man, I know that we already talked about him, but I think he needs even more praise because this dude is one of the most unfairly slandered basketball players in the NBA today. Literally, it was a month ago when people were saying he had to be gone. There was a tweet that went viral, Logan. It went viral, tens of thousands of likes saying J-Dub is the most obvious the dynasty starts after you player there is. And what does he do in response to that? Game 7 against Denver, he gives you 24, 5, and 7 extremely efficiently from the field. The entire Minnesota series, he was so damn good. By the way, he was also incredible in the Memphis series. That wasn't super high pressure, but he was their best player in that series. And then in this game, the biggest of his career, he plays the best game of his life. In last game, I had some issues with his offensive process. He still gave you 27.7 boards, 3 assists. And I think that was at least a solid game from him. But if you look at the trend throughout these playoffs, biggest moments, the guy has just been fantastic and he gets doubted so hard and he gets counted out and people write him off. And what does he do, man? He does stuff like this. This is the best it's ever been, but he's an incredibly gifted all-around basketball player. He was all NBA in his 3rd season. He should have been first team all defense. That sort of elite impact in every phase of the game, his sort of versatility, it's special and it doesn't get appreciated enough. And I hope that everybody is going to appreciate now what an awesome basketball player Jalen Williams is. And we can put some of these stupid conversations to bed. And by the way, I also saw after game 3, some Thunder fans say, oh, we need to have long, hard conversations about Chet's future with this franchise. Like, guys, what are you doing?
About what a great player he's going to be.
Exactly,
how long he's going to be with your team. Dude, you know, Carson, it's funny that you bring that up to me because I don't pay attention to a lot of the narrative-based stuff that happens with, like, players. But it was funny because Breen said at the end of the broadcast, he was like, you know, this is a superstar-making performance for J-Dub. And I certainly think it was because of the stakes and the situation. But I just thought to myself, damn, man, that's kind of sad. Like, if this is your first time really seeing J-Dub, it's like you kind of been missing out, bro. Like, he's capable of doing this. And that's I guess, the final thing that I do want to hammer home about this team. Guys, J-Dub's 23. I mean, Chet is what, 22?
J-Dub's 24 and Chet's 23.
Okay, but
and
this isn't even their final form. Like, the next 5 years, you are going to see these guys continue to get better and better, specifically offensively, because I don't know how much better they can get defensively. Like you said, these are 2 all-defense, first-team caliber guys already, And Carson, like you always talk about, I think it's such a great point that you make that defense is probably the most overlooked and underappreciated skill in basketball. And they are first team there. In most nights, these are guys that can give you 20 plus pretty damn efficiently. You know, J-Dub's, I think, a little bit better than Chet, or more reliable. I don't know about better offensively now, but
yeah, he's a better offensive player than Chet for sure right now.
They're capable of doing that. And again, the next 5 years are going to keep getting better. Be patient, man. This is the second youngest team in NBA Finals history. They mentioned it on the broadcast. The 77 Blazers, guys, are just getting started.
Amen, dude. It truly baffles me whenever people put J-Dub or Chet in any trade talk. Like, I have been adamantly opposed to the Thunder even considering a Giannis trade. Anything that requires them moving off of either of those dudes, no chance. It is a historical rarity to have a big three this talented, this young, this complimentary. You do not in a million lifetimes touch that. You won 68 games, even with Chet being hurt for much of the year. Shai went undefeated in games without J-Dub. But when all three of them are out there, you're talking about one of the great foundations for a dynasty in the history of this sport. You won 68 games. You're in all likelihood going to be the second youngest champion in NBA history. Appreciate that, man. Because like you said, J-Dub is just going to continue to get better. I think he can become a more consistent offensive player, but Chet is the guy who is really, really going to take leaps just as he gets more reps, as he gets more games under his belt offensively, as he gets more confident in his game off the dribble, his three-point shot. There's so much ability there to tap into. I will say, coming into this playoffs, I said that I thought Chet was their second best player and J-Dub was their third best player. And that's basically consistently been my stance. I've always been a J-Dub guy. You can go look back. I did a video a couple years ago saying he was the key to a dynasty, but I've always viewed Chet as like a really special talent. I thought he was the best prospect since AD coming out. And I still think that Chet has a significantly higher ceiling than J-Dub. But in a playoff environment, J-Dub is the better player. J-Dub's their second best player. I just think the level of creation that he provides compared to some of the inconsistencies from Chet offensively, the fact that J-Dub can actually be that second guy who goes out there and gives you 22, 5, and 5 on solid efficiency, while he is still an extremely impactful defensive player, not Chet level of defensive impact, but still an extremely impactful, like top 10 defensive player on the planet, probably. In the regular season where Chet can be a little bit more efficient, then I think that he probably does have the edge. But right now in a postseason, I think J-Dub is the guy.
I think I agree with that. How high do you think they could all be in
ceiling
player rankings? Could they all be top 15?
Yes. I think that Chet can easily be top 10. And if you think that that's crazy, I just don't think that you're watching closely enough to the fact that this is already one of the handful of most impactful defensive players on the planet who has incredibly rare speed for being 7'1", an incredibly rare handle, rare shooting touch, rare body control in the lane, like all this stuff that he's still just putting together, but the ceiling there is so freakishly high. And yeah, I think that J-Dub can be a top 15 player. Why not? I think that that basically just comes from him being probably a little bit smarter with his shot selection, probably a little bit craftier about like drawing fouls. So he gets a little bit more of that high efficiency offense, maybe improving a little bit as a playmaker. He's already good there, but he can get better with experience, becoming a more consistently elite 3-point shooter. None of these things are out of the realm of possibility. Like, I do think that he doesn't get the easiest offense for himself, as we've talked about, because he lacks that like elite first step. But there's a bunch of stuff that he can do to improve on the margins. He's already a top 25 player. So the leap to top 15 is really not that far. And the guy's 24 and he's in his third year. So do you agree? I mean, he's already all NBA.
I don't think it's ridiculous at all. I mean, like, there's a lot of young up and coming players that I think have a lot of room to get better. Like if it's Banchero, if it's Mobley continuing to get better, that are young talents, but it's like, I don't know. I don't have to do a ton of mental gymnastics to see J-Dub becoming a much more reliable scorer. You see what a problem he is in transition. Like, as his touch improves, and I think that's probably going to be a little bit more gradual, but he's already a good shooter. He already gets to great looks every game. That's the most baffling thing to me about J-Dub, dude. Even games when he's missing and he is completely off from the field, I like 90% of the looks that he gets to. And we've talked about it. To maximize his efficiency, he needs to get downhill all the way to the rim more. I thought he did an excellent job of this in this game, but I don't have to do a ton of gymnastics to see him improving offensively. And Chet's just special. We overuse the term unicorn, and I think we kind of beat that like a dead horse when we had KP, but he is. You just don't see the kind of skill in this kind of body. And Chet's so early in terms of experience. Like, he just hasn't played that much NBA basketball, and he already looks really comfortable.
He's got 120 NBA games under his belt or something. I mean, he's nothing. He's a baby.
And he's one of the most skilled big men I've ever seen. And he's super fluid. Like, yeah, I would say top 20 is where I would guess, because I think that's more, just for all three of them at some point. But that's crazy. That's a crazy accumulation of talent. I mean, I'm just trying to think about other trios that could have ever said that in NBA history, man. And it's obviously not there now, but again, I think it's on the horizon.
It is.
And it's imminent.
It is, and it's not that far away now. Like, Chet is not a top 20 player right now, but he's a top 30 player, I would say. J-Dub is not quite a top 20 player, in my opinion, but he's pretty damn close, and maybe he is. Maybe when we do our re-rankings, he will be there. I think that J-Dub's ceiling is probably around the 15th best player in basketball, and I think that Chet's ceiling is higher than that. But I do think that there will absolutely be years where all of these guys are all NBA. I think we will see multiple years where that is the case. I think that it's incredible. I think that they're going to be a dynasty. I've said it a million times, but this is just like the most encouraging J-Dub performance you possibly could have gotten, and it happens on the biggest stage of his career. Let's talk about the other side of this. For the Pacers, feels like we have to start with Tyrese Haliburton. Actually, there's one more J-Dub thing I want to say real quick. If you look at this series, man, 9 free throw attempts for him in game 2, 11 free throw attempts in game 3, 11 free throw attempts in game 4, and 12 free throw attempts tonight. I mean, those are sky-high numbers for J-Dub. This is a guy who averaged 4 free throw attempts per game in the regular season. Now you're talking about him consistently hitting double digits in this series. I think that that is a huge testament to his downhill aggression, to his insistence on getting into the paint as a driver, which is hugely beneficial. What is going on with Tyrese Haliburton, Logan, and what do you make of his performance and where he fell short for Indiana in this game?
I mean, I don't want to let him off the hook at all. He didn't score a basket from the field. Like, I am going to cut the guy some slack. Like, he's clearly injured with the calf. This is the most brutal, I think, team to play if you're dealing with an injury in basketball. Like,
yeah,
it's already hard playing against Oklahoma City. That problem is exacerbated by the fact that Haliburton is injured, and he's already not the most explosive kind of guy, right? So Haliburton needs all that he can get against this team because he's not great at creating space as much as other guys. So he's got to capitalize on those really small windows and know when to get his shot off. And so it was just a really hard task for him against this team when everybody can get up into his dribble and everybody can disturb him. And you know, I think he's got to be a little bit more aggressive with his touches, too. I don't think he should have gotten demoralized by the fact that stuff wasn't going in. Also, though, I also think it's important to note that Indiana had so many turnovers in this game that there are a lot of possessions where Hallie doesn't even put a finger on the ball, man. And, like, you know, it's already in Oklahoma City's hands. It's an inexcusable performance. But what I didn't understand is Rick Carlisle saw Haliburton struggling, didn't have an issue benching Haliburton in the second quarter and not closing with him then. Why did he leave him out there when he was still struggling in the fourth quarter? I just thought that TJ McConnell had played so well earlier in that game that with Hallie's struggles, I would have just left him off the court. I didn't agree with the diagnosis and the analysis at halftime that they should just take him out of the game. But as the game continued, I did feel closer and closer to that. Like, he just doesn't have it tonight. He is clearly hindered, and he still had some passes and some playmaking moments. But when he is this much of a non-factor as a scorer, I didn't know why he was out there, and I thought McConnell should have closed in this game, and I thought that was a mistake by Rick Carlisle.
I think that you can also close with McConnell and Hallie. I think that those guys can play together effectively. And in fact, we did see TJ get out there at the very end, but I agree. I thought that TJ was pretty clearly their best source of offense from the perimeter in terms of a point guard in this game. I mean, just generating paint touch after paint touch, had the 13-point third quarter that kept them in this game that was ridiculous. And he assisted on 5 more points in that stretch. So he scored or assisted on 18 straight points. And Hallie just like very clearly couldn't create you any advantages. It's really tricky to talk about a player when they're injured, I feel, because you never know the exact extent of it. And I think that people who are dismissive of injuries just really don't know what they're talking about. I mean, injuries can be so impactful. We've seen it a number of times in these playoffs alone where guys try to play through something and they are just clearly not themselves. And I did think that that was the case for Hallie in this one. So I think you have to acknowledge that he's clearly hampered. And this happened very early in the game where he aggravated the calf, the possession where he tried to isolate Chet, and then he fell down, lost his handle, and then was just bothered by it the whole game after that. But it does not excuse the extent to which he was a complete non-factor in this game. And it doesn't excuse the fact that, like, yeah, he only takes 6 shots. 4 of them are for deep. Several of them were really good looks, very wide open. And he even missed those shots. So a calf strain is a very difficult injury. It can zap all your explosiveness. It can easily turn into something worse, right? If you overdo it, if you try to push the limit a little bit too far. But it is hard for me to be like, just go out there and force it when you are dealing with an injury. And especially with Hallie's play style, like this is a limitation of his. First of all, he's not inherently great at creating separation on his own. So now when he's not 100% against the best defense we've seen in decades with unmatched speed, that becomes even more of a challenge. And he's not a tight window shot maker. So he's not a guy who can just like force himself and impose himself on the game if he's not able to put himself in advantageous positions, which he just wasn't able to do in this one. But like I said, doesn't excuse him missing the few good looks that he did have, passed up a couple good looks. I mean, there was one where he had a 3 on the wing and Chet was closing out, but he could have gotten the shot up. And instead he just swings it to Siakam, who's already covered by Hartenstein, and just neutralizes the advantage. He was just nowhere. He was nowhere to be found in this game. And even though I think the injury was absolutely a factor, it doesn't excuse that. This is the biggest game of your career too. And your team needs you. And he was just a very ineffective decoy. That's basically what he was doing. He was just out there to be out there. And I think that has a lot to do with his health in this game and his comfort and his confidence and his ability to go full speed. But it's really, really tough for this Indiana team because they needed him and he just didn't have it.
Well, I mean, it's made even worse by the fact that Indiana kept this game close and got within reach, and he didn't give them anything. I mean, he gives them 4 free throws at the end of the game that are not that important. I mean, I got to give a ton of credit to Pascal Siakam for doing his thing, for scoring, I think, 12 straight in the fourth quarter, man, or 12 early buckets against OKC early. Great mismatch attacking, great shooting from behind the arc, getting to the line. Like, I thought Siakam was phenomenal in this one.
And made a couple great defensive plays. I mean, he had the 6 turnovers. They struggled to get him the ball some in the post, but 5 stocks on top of that. Great offensive production.
I mean, he felt like the only guy having anything going for Indiana for a lot of this game, so I can kind of excuse the turnovers in this one. But I thought McConnell was great. I thought Toppin was great. I thought Nesmith hit some timely shots and goes 4 or 5 from behind the arc in this one. Like, he's just one of the best shooters in basketball. A lot of Indiana pulled their weight in this game. The only things that just... Haliburton deserves to wear a lot of this game. Obviously, I think Ben Mathurin deserves a little bit of blame for these last 2 games. The ending of last game was really ugly, and then he struggled from the field in this one. Carlisle does deserve some blame, though. And one, the Haliburton thing, closing with him instead of TJ, I thought was a mistake. Carson, why the hell did Tony Bradley play so much in this basketball game, man?
I agree.
What?
He played hard. That's really all I can say about Tony Bradley tonight.
He
It's way
sucks.
too much. Game 5 of the finals, it's way too much to be
Bro,
getting 12
I
pointing grabs
really
from it.
liked the look that they had with Toppin at that small ball 5. Like, I don't know why he has moved away from that. I don't know why he feels the need to play Thomas Bryant or Bradley. Like, that baffles me, man. I am actually befuddled, Carson.
I was pretty befuddled as well. I agree with you on just not going with any backup center minutes, no Tony Bradley or Thomas Bryant. I also thought that, again, the position that he put those guys in defensively in terms of pick and roll coverage, both Bradley and Turner, was disadvantageous with them having to cover so much ground. So that would be my criticism of Carlisle. I think he's had a great series, but I thought that there were a couple of flaws in terms of his coaching in this game. I also thought that, like you said, he should have closed with TJ. So I agree with all of your criticisms of him. In terms of other guys who I think just left you a little bit short, Miles Turner just hasn't been as impactful offensively as you would have hoped in this series. And Andrew Nembhard really hasn't been super impactful offensively. Now, obviously, the job he's done defensively on Shai has been so significant, and he's expending so much energy there that you can give him something of a pass, but 4 turnovers in this one, 3 of 8 from the field. He's very much been held in check offensively, and he's a guy who we know has the potential to be a 15-point per game playoff scorer. We've seen it. He hasn't reached that level in this series, but you put most of this on Hallie. Like, even with his physical limitations, he had to find a way to give you more. He has to knock down the open shots when they're there, and he just really wasn't impactful whatsoever. Props to Indiana for keeping this game as close as they did. I thought that they, in the second half, won a lot of the 50-50 balls. I thought in the first half they did a great job on the offensive glass. That's kind of the only reason that they were in the game. I think they had 12 offensive boards in the first half. They played hard to the final whistle, and they always do. Actually, I guess until 2 minutes left. If I was Rick Carlisle, dude, I would never take my starters out of the game.
I mean,
He's
bro,
pulled them
they can
early
get
in game
hot.
2
Yeah,
and
dude.
this one.
I didn't get it either because I mean they can get hot and rip off so many points so quickly. It's like just let them play the last 2 minutes.
When you have pulled off the most clutch magic we've ever seen, and it's the NBA Finals, why not? Would be. I mean, I want to see Johnny Furphy out there as much as the next guy, but
I don't want to
I've
see
seen him a
him out.
little more.
I don't want to see Johnny Furphy out there at all.
Okay, you hater.
I saw somebody pose this question in the chat earlier, and it's been on my mind. Obviously, with the injury, it's hard to, again, fully understand how much of a limiter that was for Haliburton. Is this the absolute worst star performance from a star that you've seen in the NBA Finals or in NBA history? Like,
Do
I
we
can't.
consider John Starks a star?
That's a big one. That's a good shout. I just
I don't
can't
think anything's ever
remember.
going to be worse than that.
I can't remember a guy of Haliburton's stature, the number one guy on a team, going scoreless from the field in an NBA Finals game. Like, this is truly putrid stuff, and I hate to say it about our darling boy Hallie, but I mean, he's earned it after this performance.
It was really, really bad. I guess it depends on where do you draw the line for star. Like, do you have to be the best guy? I mean, obviously, we have the LeBron frozen one game with 8 points. That was pretty terrible. John Starks, I don't think anything will ever beat that game, but he's not of the same caliber as a player. But Jesus, what did he shoot? 2 of 18 in that game? Yeah, this is one of the worst. And like, again, it's not super crazy, ugly, terrible efficiency. It's just absence. It's just not feeling your presence. So I can't think of many worse than this game from Hallie when you're talking about a guy who is the best player on a team in the finals. Now, obviously, he's not your typical best player in the finals because as much as I love the guy, I think he's the 12th to 15th best player in the league. That's the range I would have him in. Normally, when you're in the finals, you have kind of a surefire top 10 player. But it was really bad. It was really bad. Even considering the circumstances, even considering the matchup and the calf and all that, it was really bad. I will say, you know what has been the opposite, Logan? You know what's been incredible? These NBA finals. This could go down as an all-timer, man. I mean, 4 of the 5 games this series have been flat out awesome. Game 1, we have a last-second game winner and a historic finals comeback. Game 2, was totally unremarkable. That wasn't a great game. But then game 3, we have like this peak Pacers performance, one of the iconic bench duo games ever with Mathurin and TJ, and they bring this insane defensive intensity, and you get a great Hallie game, and it's just like a shockingly great performance from them to take control of the series. Then last game wasn't the highest quality, I wouldn't say, but it was an incredibly thrilling finish where now it's OKC was the fourth quarter comeback, and that game was extremely competitive throughout. And this one, like OKC was dictating and they were dictating, and then you looked up at the half and it's like they're only up 14. And then you have the Magic TJ McConnell quarter and they cut into that lead. And this was really competitive until there were just a few minutes to go in the fourth. But the quality of play was really, really high, I thought, in this one. It's been fantastic. And we'll see how game 6 goes. We'll see if we get to a potential game 7, how that goes. But when you think about 2013, 2016, 1984, I know a lot of you guys are thinking about 1969, the last hurrah between the Lakers and Celtics in the Bill Russell era. 1962, of course, we all remember, goes 7. Frank Selvey misses a potential series-winning shot, baseline 12-footer. Nice shot, Frank. 1970, Knicks-Lakers goes 7. We've seen some great series, but in recent years, we haven't really had that great finals matchup since 2016. And this has been that. This has been great, incredibly competitive basketball.
And it feels like it's a portal into the future of basketball. And what I mean by that is just the speed, the high-level reads, the guys flying around the basketball court. I feel like this finals is kind of giving us a window into what the future of great basketball teams look like.
Absolutely. I mean, the level of depth itself is ridiculous.
Depth, defense, speed, and quick decisions. Like it's all on
and
display.
A lot of dudes who can handle, a lot of dudes who are skilled.
Exactly. Guys who don't have holes in their games at all can do everything.
It's the theme. It's what these two teams have in spades. I want to ask you one more question before we get to these super chats, which I was thinking about. Who do you think is OKC's most valuable defender?
Probably Chet. I'm debating between him and Dub. The only reason is, Dub I think is more versatile, but I guess the reason I don't go Dort or Caruso after that is just because I think Dub has actual like rim protection, like is an actual like great rim protector. But I'd probably say Chet just because he's one of the best rim protectors on the planet.
That's interesting. I love Dub. He would be a pretty clear 3. To me, it's really a 2-horse race between Caruso and Chet.
Oh.
No, Caruso, man. I think that Caruso is clearly a better all-around defender than Dort. I think that his off-ball value is on a different level. His instincts, his defensive playmaking, his ability to force steals is absolutely absurd. He does have some value making plays around the rim, like sneaky, really good shot blocking guard. Just insanely disruptive. And then his matchup versatility is absolutely freakish. We've seen it so many times. He can guard bigs. He can guard big forwards. Everybody is uncomfortable against him. One of the smartest defensive players on the planet, maybe the craziest defensive motor on the planet. He is as good as a defensive guard can be. Like I say that, no hyperbole. He's one of the greatest defensive guards we've ever seen. He is built to be a wrecking ball on the perimeter, guarding so many different matchups in today's NBA. I do think I slightly lean Chet, though, just because Chet is, as I've said, I think the best pure rim protector in basketball. He held opposing players 19% below their average field goal percentage at the rim this regular season. That's the best number I've ever seen. And then the fact that he is an actual monster in terms of his switchability, that is just so insanely impactful. When you have the best rim protector on the planet, and he can also go out there and shut down Hallie in stretches and shut down Siakam in stretches. Again, in stretches, just on certain possessions, but that's insane defensive value. If Chet were an elite defensive rebounder, this would already be like one of the all-time great defensive bigs, flat out. And if he gets there, and if he adds a little strength to his frame, I don't know how much he can add. That guy is the narrowest shoulders I've ever seen. But he'll probably add a little something. Then, yeah, I think he'll be one of the best defensive players ever. I think that both he and Caruso might be top 5 defenders on the planet. Like, it's them, Draymond, Wemby, Mobley. I'd like to have AD in there, but I don't know if his motor is consistent enough to put him in the top 5 right now. So that might be my top 5 defenders on the planet. I might have 2 Thunder in it with Lou Dort and J-Dub not that far behind. Probably my top 15 at least. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
I'm thinking about who else would be up there.
In terms of the best defenders?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about OG.
You still got to have Gobert up there for sure. OG is a good shout. Dyson Daniels is somewhere up there. Man,
I was thinking about Tatum too a little bit, but
Tatum's a tier below these guys, in my opinion. He's really good, but not just as insanely disruptive. Yeah.
That's not a bad five, though.
Amen and Rudy are probably the 2. And obviously, Bam, we have to mention. But I don't feel bad about that 5. I don't feel bad about that 5. I think with Chet's insane switchability, he justifies that spot. And like I said, I mean, Caruso minute to minute just unleashes hell on offenses.
How many of the top 30 defenders on the planet does OKC have?
5. Put Kaysen in there.
I like it. That's ridiculous.
It's insane, man. That's why they're one of the best defenses we've ever seen. Okay, let's get to these super chats now. I appreciate all you guys asking questions. Stone Rider says, when's the last time you all teared up from basketball? J-Dub 40-piece and 1 win away from the championship had my vision a bit blurry tonight. That's a great question. Do you have an answer, Logan? Are we just emotionless little content zombies? Do we feel a goddamn thing?
I mean, I'm thinking about other sports moments that have made me cry. Like, last time I remember really bawling was when Tiger won the Masters in like 2019. I bawled at that. I don't know if I'm going to think on this. I don't know if a basketball game's ever made me cry like that.
Yeah, I'm struggling to think, dude. Maybe 2015 when the Warriors won it.
I was going to say maybe Kobe's last. I think I cried during Kobe's last game. That was special, but
I damn sure didn't cry when the Warriors won in 2017 or 2018. That was the least surprising thing of all time. I didn't cry when they won in 2022. I don't think I've ever cried at a Jokic game. Maybe cried out on my wiener, if you know what I mean.
Oh my God, Carson, come on, man.
What? I'm giving an honest answer.
All right,
I can't think of the last time I cried at a
I'm going to say
Kobe's
last game is probably
That's a good
my
shout.
answer.
Probably the most emotional I've ever been at a sporting result that I can think of was Novak Djokovic winning Wimbledon in 2019, saving 2 match points against Roger Federer, winning in the 5th set tiebreak. I can't think of a basketball moment I've cried at, but Stone Rider, I'm very happy that was for you tonight. Maui says, y'all put Chet over J-Dub ranking. Chet Glaze crazy. Shout out to you, Maui, the GOAT Chet hater. We did discuss that, though. I think that J-Dub these playoffs has moved above Chet in my rankings, but the ceiling is still higher with Chet. Dylan, if this type of performance, or like 90% of it, becomes Shai's norm, would that move him above Jokic as the best player in the world? Love y'all, by the way. Thank you, Dylan. We love you, too.
Not for me, personally, no. I mean, I just think Jokic's baseline is so high. I mean, I do think that's the next step for Shai, is becoming this type of a playmaker more consistently, and that would make it closer for me. And the argument that I think I would hear about the SGA versus Jokic dynamic is that SGA is actually a plus positional defender, and I think Jokic is about... People make out Jokic to be this horrible defender, but I actually think he's above average, so that gap would probably be the argument that I would hear out, but I still think Jokic is the best on the planet.
Yeah, I concur. That being said, I mean, playmaking is the biggest opportunity that Shai has to close that gap and maybe take the crown himself, because he's already the best scorer on the planet, maybe among the 10 best scorers we've ever seen, at least in those conversations. So when you pair that with a guy who can give you 8 to 10 assists and the plus defense with elite scoring efficiency and production, then at least you can make the argument. I mean, that's what I said about Shai coming into this series. Like, if he had a dominant series, I would say I'd still go with Jokic, but you could see the argument for saying, I want to construct a team around Shai, and I think that he's the best guy in that mold, and I prefer that mold a little bit to Jokic. He's one of the best offensive engines we've ever seen, and this game is maxing out his potential. It's really no flaw in Shai's game. It's more so just Jokic being at a top 8 peak of all time. But I've talked about this. The two things with Shai really are consistency as a playmaker and then consistency in terms of the 3-point volume and efficiency. And if those two things get dialed in at a really high level, then I think he actually can make a good claim for being the best in the world. Maui, I hate Stephen A, but he right, Hallie can never be a superstar.
This is the one thing that I think is going to irritate me the most from this game is just the Tyrese Haliburton discourse. If I choose to pay attention to it, I don't know what the hell else Tyrese Haliburton has to do for people to accept him as a bona fide superstar. The guy went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year when nobody expected it. The guy went to the NBA Finals this year, and people are going to denigrate him and say, oh, he's overrated. Oh, and don't get me wrong, this is something that he can't live down. It's a 0-point finals performance. I'm sure that people will probably be bringing this up the day that Haliburton retires, but it's just egregious to me, man.
It's a 4-point finals performance. Yeah, it's a 0 field goals made.
I mean, yeah, you just can't live something like that down, but Haliburton is a superstar. Stephen A just says shit.
Yeah, superstar is such a weird thing. It's such a nebulous term. I don't really know what it means. I don't know if anybody knows what it means. Sometimes people try to define it by like actual popularity. How much of a draw are you? Everybody's got different lines. Is it the top 10?
Like, are we just going to forget that Tyrese has had the clutchest playoff run ever? Oh, let me just act like that didn't happen. Like, what?
Yeah, and it's not a coincidence that this guy in back-to-back years has let out the best playoff offenses. That last year, even before they traded for Siakam, he was leading a historic regular season offense. He is an incredibly impactful offensive player in ways that often are not fully captured by the stat sheet. I've gone on and on and on about this stuff, but him being such an elite off-ball player is so uniquely rare. Him being the best decision maker in basketball, always making the most out of every advantage he creates, is so extremely valuable. Protecting the basketball better than anybody else, when the possession game has been so key throughout these playoffs, is so valuable. Being the best at pushing pace, hit ahead passes, getting his team early, easy offense in transition. That's the most efficient offense in basketball. He is underrated as a scorer because he is really efficient there. And he does have his lethal bread and butter things that he can go to as a scorer with the floater, with the pull-up three against certain coverages, beating switches. Like, there's a reason this guy consistently generates awesome team offense, and the offense isn't nearly as good when he sits. I mean, it's an 8-point per 100 possession difference overall this year, their offense with him on compared to when he's off. Back-to-back deep playoff runs. I agree. Like, again, I don't know what you mean by superstar, but what I will say is if you don't think he's somewhere between the 12th to 15th best player in the NBA, I think you're still missing the impact of what he does out there. And this is a hard game to judge because of the calf, and I'm not excusing it, but I think that context is important to understand. And it doesn't override, like you said, literally the greatest clutch run in playoff history. And like, that's fine if you don't value that much because it is kind of a small sample size thing, but it's more than that. It's back-to-back postseasons of leading the best playoff offenses.
I mean, it's a great point. It's like, is Ja Morant a superstar? It's like, what, because of his play style? Because it's more aesthetically pleasing, him flying through the air? It's like, Tyrese Haliburton is a better player than that guy. So,
way better. And by the way, not only has he let out the best playoff offense over the last 2 years, in the playoffs, they're 12 points per 100 possessions better with him on the floor. Overall, it's a huge difference. He is a massively impactful, totally unique player. And I think his uniqueness is often occurs because he is more susceptible to these quiet box score nights. And this wasn't just a quiet box score night. This was a quiet, you didn't feel his impact kind of night. And that was really bad. But people will always point to 18 points per game and just look at the box score and miss the complete value of what he's doing.
It's like, is LaMelo Ball a superstar? Like, I don't know who I need to point to like hammer this home. It's like, again, I think you said it, man. I don't know what constitutes that. To me, Haliburton's in that tier, and I want the guy on my basketball team.
Absolutely, as do I. And I just really hope that he's able to recover a bit for game 6, because if he can't go full speed, the Pacers are cooked. They're not going to win
McConnell, man. Just give McConnell 40 minutes.
Nah, it's not the same. It's not remotely the same. They need Hallie. They need Hallie to be himself, and if he's not, it's over. They're losing game 6. King of Thunder says, Carson, I love you. You have the best takes for real, for real. Thank you, King of Thunder. I love you as well. Evil Crisis, thank you for your donation. Ain't no way Indiana losing game 6, but it's huge the OKC role players regained confidence. It's funny how SGA had the best defensive game of his life, and he was only the second best player. These finals, incredible.
Thank you for your donation, Evil Crisis. These finals have been incredible. This was actually Indiana's first back-to-back losses of the playoffs. Neither of these teams had lost back-to-back games coming into this one, so it is really, really remarkable. Indiana could very well lose game 6, though, man. This felt like a really... Obviously, it's the most important game in the series, right? Because it's 2-2, it's knotted up. This is going to give you the advantage, but I felt like there was a lot of momentum, like you mentioned, that Oklahoma City gained in this one with the role players, with the defense. They found a rhythm and a comfortability that I hadn't really seen from Oklahoma City as much in these finals. And J-Dub getting going in this big of a way was huge. So, I don't know. I do think Indiana's going to lose game 6, man. I think Oklahoma City probably finishes the job this next game.
It's just such a massive improvement from OKC. 24 assists compared to 11 last game. Really, really dramatically improved the offensive process. And as you said, I mean, the role players got comfortable. They got confident. They knocked down shots. The defense is at that special level that you expect from them. Shai is at that special level. J-Dub looks phenomenal. I just don't really know what doubt you could have about this Thunder team right now. It does feel like they answered every question that we would have had after game 4. And it's always been clear that if they play up to their potential, they're going to win the title. That's just the reality of it. Really, they can only hold themselves back if it's Shai not being a willing enough playmaker, if it's them not shooting well from deep, if it's J-Dub Chet inconsistency. Like, when they are the best version of themselves, when they even play up to expectations, they're just better than everybody else. And that's what they did in this game. Both they and the Pacers stole a game in this series. Obviously, the Pacers stole game 1. I would say that the Thunder stole game 4 with how bad their offensive process was for 3 quarters, and then they surged and come back and took that one in the 4th. They weren't the better team for 4 quarters. The distinction I would make is Indiana needed to steal a game to have a chance in this series, and they needed to not cough one up in the clutch because they're just not as good as the Thunder. As much as I love the Pacers, and Lord knows I love them, they're not as good as the 68-win Oklahoma City Thunder, who just have more margin, who just have more talent, who have the best player, who have the all-time defense, who have the insane depth, all of these things. And that's where I think game 4 really, really is going to hurt for the Pacers. And it's not to say they choked it away. I mean, the Thunder did a lot to take that one by playing at such a high level in the 4th quarter, but they just couldn't afford to lose one like that. And the Thunder obviously didn't want to lose game 1, but they could come back from that. And now they stole one back in game 4. And now, yeah, I said after game 4, it felt like OKC was going to win in 7. My prediction before the series was OKC in 6. With these Hallie questions, I lean OKC does win next game. But I absolutely still think that Indiana can, especially if Hallie is able to get his calf in better shape. Then I think that they have the offensive firepower. They can do it. But it feels like OKC is in a position to finish this thing off right now. Everything's humming. Everything that they had to figure out, they figured out. And that's massive. Spencer says, you said you wouldn't trade for Giannis. Agreed. But what if OKC gave up Jay, Will, and Joe and like 10 firsts for Cooper Flag or more if needed, Wiggins or Topic?
I don't know if any player in the history of basketball has been worth 10 first-round picks. I mean...
I know, that's where I'm like, is that hyperbole? Like, what is a number of firsts? If you had to come up with a number you'd be willing to give up, what would it be?
Is it that package, J-Dub and Isaiah Joe?
I think he means Jay Will.
What? Why the hell would I...
Because you're getting 10 firsts or 6 firsts or whatever the number is.
If we were just making like a salary thing and we were giving them a player and it was I guess like 6 maybe. It's so strange. It's just so. I would feel uncomfortable. It's like the Saints trading their entire draft board to go get Ricky Williams.
Well, what if the Saints had just won 16 games in the Super Bowl and they were really young and they also had a million picks from other teams?
Look, if I could keep in this hypothetical, if I could keep SGA, J-Dub, and Chet Holmgren, take all the first you want, bro. I'm just gonna win
that is this
every.
hypothetical.
Okay, then I'm just gonna win every title until the end of time.
Let's see how many picks they can give up without even having to give up their own. They have 2025 first swap from the Clippers this year. They have Miami's 2025 first, I believe. They have a 2026 first swap next year. They have Philly's 2026 first protected, top 4. They have Utah's 2026 first protected, top 8. They have Denver's 2027 first. They have LA's 2027 first swap. They have Dallas's 2028 first swap. They have Denver's 2029 first. And then that's where the well runs.
Sam Presti, man.
So, like,
Vanessa,
come on, dude.
Go hang up your phone if Sam Presti calls you, man.
I mean, that's just ridiculous. So at the end of the day, J. Will, Isaiah Joe, if it's 6 firsts for Cooper Flag,
I
would do it. I would do it. The question is just, can you possibly pay that big for?
No,
with the new CBA, and
you're definitely losing somebody.
So you're losing J-Dub, I guess. I mean, he would be the most expendable out of those 4 to me. That would hurt. But you'd have Cooper Flag. You want to add Cooper Flag to one of the greatest defenses we've ever seen. Why not, bro? It would be unfair. It would be bad.
That'd be like the greatest. That'd be the greatest rim protection duo of all time. I think maybe.
Well,
I don't know about Duncan and Robinson. Yeah,
that is gonna be damn near impossible to top. But it's just unthinkable. I mean, it would be the most talented young core we've ever seen. It would be the most talented defense we've ever seen. It wouldn't be good for the sport. It wouldn't. I really like the Thunder. I don't want them to get Cooper Flag. No, just because KD was already a top 3 player on the planet and the Warriors had just won 73 games. But I mean, winning 68 games in the title, presumably, and then getting a generational talent. I mean, that's busted, man. That's overpowered. Yeah. Then they really, really, really could start to enter those greatest team ever talks a couple years down the line, which I've said they have the opportunity to do because they have this sort of firepower and this sort of talent already. So maybe we do see it, but that would be insane. And I just don't think the Mavs are going to move off that pick. I think that they need to actually keep a great young player because I think that their fan base would ride if they gave another one up. Yeah. Jalen Green. Good to see you, Jalen. Sorry about how this postseason went. Says, does OKC have the best home crowd in the league?
Either them or Denver, in my opinion. Those are my 2 favorite environments. I think Indiana's got a rocking environment.
Cleveland's
cool. I like Boston for the most part. I don't like Boston fans, but I like the environment.
Sure.
Them or Denver, in my opinion. I really do like Denver's crowd. They get rowdy too.
I think OKC's probably number 1. They're insane people. Denver's got a great crowd. I think Cleveland's got a great crowd. But I don't know if anybody's doing it quite like the Thunder fans. They're rabid, and I love it, and it's great. And it's part of the reason that OKC has had a historically dominant home season and home postseason. Can they get it done on the road, Logan? We shall see. They haven't been quite as dominant there.
We got one more super chat, my friend.
Thank you, Logan. Great eyes. This is from Spencer. Again, thank you, Spencer. After the finals, if OKC wins, you should make a vid comparing them to all-time teams. KD Warriors, Braun Heat, 13-14 Spurs, Cavs, Shaq Kobe Lakers. Oh, you better believe we're going to rank them. We're going to rank them. Absolutely. After this is all said and done. But it's not all said and done just yet. So we will be live again after Game 6, but we've got content before then because we are going to do a full draft question bonanza on Wednesday. We're going to hand out sort of superlatives for that, and we'll have more draft content before the big day. And then we will be back here live after Game 6 reacting to a potential opportunity for OKC to clinch the title or for Indiana to extend this to a Game 7, which is a rarity and a special thing in the NBA Finals. What a great series it's been, and it's been a joy to talk about it with you, Logan, and it's been a joy to talk about it to you all and to have you all enjoying alongside us. We appreciate you as always. and hope to see you for Game 6. If you want more of our content, you can find it all across our YouTube channel, all of our full episodes, post-game live reactions, and all of our video essays and video breakdown content we do. We also did talk about the Desmond Bane trade today, KD rumors, some non-final stuff in an episode that you can check out, and you can listen to that across all audio platforms, wherever you get your pods. You can also follow us across social, TikTok and Instagram at NerdSesh, Twitter at Nerd_sesh, and you can join our Discord if you want to chat with the gang and be part of our community there. That is linked at the link tree across our social media bios. So with that, as always, appreciate you guys. I've been Carson Brabber.
I have been Logan Camden.
And this was NerdSesh.